Good evening and welcome to our parent university that's being held at our DeSoto Boys and Girls Club. My name is Catrice Estes Allen. I'm the VP of Club Operations, and it's a pleasure for you all to come out and hear these gracious things that we have our panel to discuss with you. I know we have questions prepared, and we are eager to learn more about what you all have prepared to share with our parents and our members. At this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Omar.
When we talk about the mission of Parent University, the mission is to equip our parents with the necessary resources that they need to help their little ones become successful. We want to put ourselves in that environment and allow our panel to respond to your questions. We had several questions that were submitted prior to. We had several questions that we have prepared. We are prepared this evening to respond to every question that we receive, because we also feel if you took time out of your day to craft a question, whether it came from a student or a parent, then we have the panelists that are prepared to respond to those questions. The goal is to move these parent universities around to different areas of our community. We've gone to the 13th Avenue Dream Center in East Bradenton. We've been at the Palmetto Youth Center in Palmetto. Now we're at the DeSoto Boys and Girls Club. Our goal is to be at G.T. Bray, YMCA, and then we start the rotation over. The model will remain the same. We will change out a few of our panelists, but the overall goal is to make sure that we provide a resource and education to our families that you need to help navigate the school system so that we can make sure that it moves forward. The mission of the school district of Manatee County is to develop our students, to educate them for their success tomorrow. We care about where they're going to be tomorrow, and we only educate them to grade 12, but we want to ensure that they're successful for the rest of their life. So our mission, our core values, we want to ensure that we graduate them and they matriculate into life. Our vision is to be globally competitive. We're not just competing with students in Manatee County. When we get ready for the high skill, high wage jobs, we're competing against students worldwide. So we have to make sure that not only our parents are equipped, our students need to be equipped so that we can make sure that we have a successful community. And that's the goal, and that's your occasion here today. Thank you. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our moderator, and if you can give her a round of applause, Tara Brown. She's one of our assistant directors in our HR department.
Good evening. My first job will be to introduce this illustrious panel. So first we have Travis Persinger, the manager of sales and tickets for the Bradenton Marauders. Wave your hand, Travis. We have John Morrell from the Manatee County Sheriff's Office. Bishop Dexter McDonald with Community Outreach World Deliverance Center. Wendell Butler, the principal of Bayshore High School. Kamon Cooper, the principal of Lee Middle School. Lisa Irby, a teacher at Bayshore High School. Sonia Sanders, graduation enhancement technician at Lee, right? At Lee Middle School. Caitlin Serrano, a teacher at Lee Middle School. And Joe Hoagland, principal of Stewart Elementary. So we are going to start by, I'm going to ask the questions that have been presented to us by students and parents from the DeSoto Boys and Girls Club. For the panel, what we're going to do is, as I ask each question, raise your hand so that the cameras can zoom in on you, because this will be broadcast on METV and on YouTube. Okay? So as you raise your hand, I'll call on you to answer the questions so that they can focus in on you. The first question is, what can I do to not forget when to turn in my homework? All right, Miss Irby, right away.
So most of the schools are providing agendas, and it would be really helpful if you as students utilized your agendas. We give you time in class to be able to write stuff down and jot it down. That's great. Your cell phones that you love so much, they have a built-in calendar, and you all can utilize those as well. If you have any questions, you can email us and we'll help you out, but those agendas are golden. Once you write it down, you're more apt to remember it as well.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Irby. What if I have a test the next day, but I can't study because I have practice? All right, Ms. Bishop Washington.
McDonald.
I'm sorry, Bishop McDonald, I'm sorry.
Well, I think that the first thing you do is you start to think about your priorities. And without an education, you can't play soccer, basketball, football, or anything. So you have to prioritize your priorities. And then you have to use your time wisely. Basketball practice is only about an hour and a half or 2 at the most. In your day, you have at least about 12 hours. So if you stay at the school, there's times and there are places that you can actually go into that particular area and study for your tests. And a test is something that you already knew was coming up, and so you should have already been planning for that test and preparing for that test. I think preparation for a test is the most important thing. So when you go in to take the test, you feel comfortable taking that test. And then, of course, one word I want to say also, your purpose. Your purpose that you're at school is to get a good education. So, of course, that test is vitally important for your education.
Thank you. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Morrell. I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm John Morrell, Manatee County Sheriff's Department, and that question is a good question. And I'm going to go back to talk to the parents, because one thing about it, in my household, my wife and I always agree that academics is always above athletics. And I had a son, I'll share this story real quick, that he was really struggling with a class, and he really thought that we was going to pull him from playing football. And coach came to me and said, hey, he's trying his best to pass the class, but he's struggling. As a good parent, what you do is, you look at it, because we want to have a balance, and we got him some help in the class, helped him got the grade up, because he told me, he said, Dad, I'm going to pass it. I said, okay, let's make it happen. Just like we want to see you happen on the field, but it comes number one. Keep that priority in order. It's academics first, and then athletics.
Good job. So Bishop McDonald kind of talked about priorities. And one of the questions from the DeSoto Boys and Girls Club is, what is a priority? What are priorities? Mr. Butler?
Good evening. That's a really great question. Priority, those are the things that you value the most. It's the stuff that you put first in life and decisions that you want to make. But a priority really should be attached to your purpose, your vision, what you see yourself as. And the things that you choose to do in life will be dictated by where you see yourself. So as a young person, growing up, it's important for you to begin to make connections to the stuff in life that you enjoy, the things that really make you tick. And then being able to determine how much time and effort you are willing to put towards those. And those really will begin to create your priorities. And it's also important as a young person when you're talking about the things that are a priority to you. And I think that Mr. Morrell had hit it on the head. As parents, us working with our kids to help them focus on those things. It's important for, kids to be able to talk with their parents about their visions and, their goals and their dreams and what they'd like to see in life, and allow parents to also come alongside of them and help them kind of navigate and put those things in order so they can keep first things first, but also focus on the stuff that really makes them grow. So, a priority can be a, multifaceted thing, but it's the things that really connect with you holistically that you want to put your time and effort to.
Great. So there are several questions that are talking about balance. How can I balance sports in school? How can I balance a job in school? And when properly balancing your schedule, how do you effectively maintain your schedule? So I'm going to put those three things together. How do you manage a job in school? How do you manage sports in school? And how do you balance your schedule? I'll call a name. Okay.
I think one of the things that you have to consider is what's more important to you. And not only what's more important to you, but what's important to your parents. And what is going to take you to the next place in life. So if you had to balance your schoolwork, your athletics, and your academics, the most important thing is your academics. So even if you had to cut back on your hours at work, achieving your academic success is most important for you, because that's going to take you to the next level. And I noticed that we have a lot of young youth here tonight. And what I say to our young people, get all you can all you get, because you're going to need it in life. There are going to be many challenges, many decisions you have to make, but it all starts with what's important to you, your parents, and what is going to help you to be able to get to the next point in life. Because if you worked and you did not pay attention to your academics, then what happens? And we know that in order for you to be successful and to get a good job, today it requires you to have an education. And I know there's a lot of young people who play a lot of sports, and everybody is going to the NBA. Everybody wants to go to the NFL. But the truth of the matter is only about 1% to 2% of the athletes are going to make it to the NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, and those kind of things. So what's important to you is important.
Mr. Hoagland?
For the parents out there is to make sure you're having those conversations with your kids. Those what do you want to be when you grow up conversations seems to have kind of faded away over the past several years, and it's not something that is readily talked about anymore. And I know the district's got a new initiative through a program called Zello that is exposing kids to different career paths and choices other than the obvious ones that are out there that you typically see. So I encourage the parents to make sure that you are having those conversations and talk about that, because he's right. A lot of them are like, I want to be a pro football player. I want to play, professional basketball. Great dreams. I hope you make it. But again, 1% to 2% are not good odds. And so you need to have something, as my parents would say, to fall back on. What is that going to be? And academics and education is what's going to allow you the most opportunities once you get to that being adult. And the other thing I like to mention up here, because we've talked about priorities and discernment and figuring out what's important, but with balance comes another word, sacrifice. You can't do all of it, so you have to discern what are those priorities, what's most important to you, and that's going to come at the cost of social time with friends, TV time, video games, things like that. But that's where you need to discern and you need to prioritize, which is what we've talked about. So sacrifice is another really big word that everyone needs to also consider as well, because we all have to give some things up. We can't do it all, I wish you could, but when you discern and decide what's important, some things are going to have to take a back seat to that. So just wanted to mention that.
Ms. Serrano?
For students that are in school and want a job and are trying to balancing that, the agenda, like they need to be using that agenda. They should write it out. What does it look like? What assignments should I do this day? What classes should you focus on with work? I've had many students ask me about how to balance the school. They have all this schoolwork, but I really need to work. Okay, so we just have to make it work. Sometimes they just need help with that. They can't figure out the schedule by themselves, so encourage them. Do you need help making the schedule, and are they staying on top of everything? I think that's, if they write it out, if they put it in their calendar, they're able to do it, but they just need help.
Ms. Cooper?
I just wanted to add something that I think that most of us forget. Along with prioritizing, there's also some sense of responsibility that our children have to take. My son is a student athlete, and I call him a stafflete because we tend to tell our children, yes, you can do this, I will support you in any way that I can. However, like some of the previous people have said, our babies think that they are going to be the next pro player, and yes, I support you. Yes, I am behind you 100%. However, you're not going to be able to get to that point unless you learn now and discern what responsibility is. So I tell my son on a daily basis, yes, you can go to football practice, but you know that you have to finish your homework. Mom, do you have homework? I ask him, do you have homework? Mom, I'm done with my homework. Okay, we can go to practice. I check again afterwards. So we as parents also have to remember not to put all of the ownership on our children, but also to be there to support them and remind them with those organizers, not just an agenda. Our children are technologically adept. They have organizers in their phones. Let's teach them how to use those things. So we utilize those as reminders, as adding tasks, so that it's easier for them to remember what they have to do. So those are just some of the simple things that we can do as parents to help our children balance and measure out their proponents.
Thank you. I definitely use my calendar to help me remember what I need to do, both at work and at home. So there is a question, what grades do you have to get to play soccer? But I'm going to ask, what grades are required for sports in general?
I guess I'll take this one.
Okay, Ms. Irby.
So it does depend upon the school, and it depends upon the household. I have 4 children. I have one currently at LSU and 3 high school girls. In our household, it's a B or better, and that's for us. Certain schools, I believe it's a 2.0. We're a 2.0 at Bayshore High School. A 2.0 is good, but for our scholar athletes, that B and above is really going to get you going. Soccer is a sport that I have grown to love because of my students at Bayshore. It was actually my first soccer game I attended because of our students. And now I love the game. However, it's a long game. Their games are very long. They play multiple times during the week, and they have to be able to, go to practice, do their studying. Some of them still work outside. And that 2.0, it's not going to get it. You have to give yourself a little wiggle room in case you have a grade or a big test that kind of dips down. So I would always tell my students to, go for that 3.0. I mean, it's going to look good on your college applications for your scholarships and everything else. But that's my household. And I have 2 students here right now, and they know how I run my classroom. I tell them the same thing that I tell my kids at home. So.
Thank you. What's a good study habit to prepare for exams? Ms. Serrano?
I would say it definitely depends on the class. I teach math, so practice, 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 lots of review. But other classes, we'll just say history, you probably have to make a list. I know there's a lot of vocab, so vocab's probably important. I feel like pretty much a lot of teachers, you are given a study guide or a review, use it. Look through your notes, look through, your book, and listen to what your teacher is telling you to study, because I feel like most teachers are going to tell you what to study so that way you're ready for your test.
Mr. Butler?
I think also it's important for us to recognize that the best study habit that a student can have for a test is for them to be actively engaged in class, because they're going to retain a lot of that information the more engaged they are in that. And on top of that, being able to write notes, taking notes, things that they can go back and review, based on what's being taught or shared with them in class is one of the most effective ways for them to be prepared for an exam, and I think about how I best learned and how I best studied. For me, I think it's important for them to learn whatever that habit is. I needed to hear things, auditory, so I would get into a habit of recording myself reviewing notes, and I would listen to that over and over. And I learned about my own learning habits of if I heard things before I went to sleep or as I was sleeping, I tend to retain those things more. So I would actually play those things in my ears as I fell asleep. And that was an easy way for me to retain information. So it's just important for them to kind of fill out what's going to be the best for them. If you're an auditory person, chances are you need to hear things. If you're an individual that you need to write things down and visually see them, then write them down multiple times, because that's going to be the best way for you to retain that information.
Mr. Butler discussed writing things down. One of the questions is, what is a way I can get better at handwriting? Come on, Miss Irby.
English teacher here. Practice. I mean, literally practice. A lot of you students do not like to write. I hear it every day. Miss, why are you making us write so much? You need to practice. Depending on your career path and what you do in life, you may have to communicate through writing. And sometimes it's handwriting, sometimes it's typing, but either way, it's going to be practice. Practice makes perfect. And that's it, yeah.
Ms. Serrano?
And from a math teacher, you still have to write in math classes. So writing does not go away. Practicing writing in English class, math class, history, science, all of the classes is important.
Go ahead.
But not just at school, you have to also practice at home. But not just at school, you have to also practice at home as well. When you're at home, continue practicing your writing. It helps, and I know a lot of students say, well, they don't teach, even when we come to writing in cursive, they're telling you now they don't teach cursive writing, but there are other tools out there outside of school that can also help you with your writing.
I just wanted to add, I have a 4-year-old granddaughter. She was 3, just turned 4 in November. And I taught her how to identify all of her alphabets and sight words. And I casually taught her how to write them. She went to school. They gave her an assignment to write all the alphabets. And when she came home and brought the assignment home, I said, oh my goodness, I failed her. So now every night we sit down and she's writing her alphabets and she's learning how to write sight words. And I'm talking about at 4 years old, 3 years old. And it starts when your child is young. You have to teach them when they're young so they'll grow up with those habits. Thank you.
Thank you. Parents, if you remember when we were younger, one of the ways we practiced our writing was writing notes to our friends. I remember writing notes, folding them up with that little tab that you pull up to open it up. Kids don't do that anymore. It's more texting. So just having them writing notes, even having them write notes to family members for Christmases or birthdays or different things like that provides that practice. Okay, this is a good question, this next one. How do you properly decide on ultimatums when both options are desirable? All right, come on.
Yeah, so that's a great problem to have, and that's what you want. And if you're having those type of situations, whether you're an adult or whether you're in elementary school or high school, then you're doing something right. You know, I have those as an adult every day to where you're looking at situations and you're saying, okay, there's not a wrong decision here. There's just one that may be a little bit better. And so I think the advice you give, whether you're talking to a grown man or a grown woman or a child, is, you know, you go old school with it. You know, you really do sit there, and whether you do it and you write it down and you say, here's my pros and here's my cons with each thing. And again, two great options. But if you really care about the decision, then you've got to put a little bit of, call it sweat equity into making the right decision, which means you can't just go eeny, meeny, miny, mo, but you know, you really got to put a little bit of work in and dive into, okay, these are two good things, but which one's going to make me great?
Okay. The next question, how can you get to college easily?
Ms. Cooper here. I don't think that there's any easy way to get to college. To get to college, it takes preparation, it takes dedication, it takes support, it takes time, it takes energy, it takes studying. I mean, there are so many components that you have to deal with when applying to college, even getting into programs that get you into college, applications, financial aid, getting the grades to go to the college that you want to go to. That opportunity doesn't just pop up. There has to be preparation. Some children have the academics to go directly to a stellar four-year school. Some children have to take other routes. They have to go through community college. But at the end of the day, the preparation is still the same. You have to have a certain GPA to get into any college. Otherwise, you're going into remedial classes. So I think that it's important that our students understand that no matter what level you're on, you have to have a baseline or some type of goal that is the medium for you to get into any school at all. So there is no easy way to get to college. I can give you an example personally known to me, won't say who it is. However, you have a student, a football player, could be basketball, it could be anything. You have another student that's also a football player, has a 4.0 GPA. This student tests well. This student is on his road to college because he tests well and he's a football player. You have a student here that is a better football player than the player that was right here. However, his scores for school and his test grades are not equivalent. So who's going to college on the easier route? The student that has the higher GPA that's also an athlete. Even though you have a stellar athlete, which is what some of our kids fall into, they're the best at that program or that art or that sport, but don't have the academics to back it up. And you don't want your children to fall into that category. So there's no easy way to get to college. It takes hard work all the way around the world.
Mr. Morrell?
I like what she said, and I just want to add this. I'm holding a flyer, and it's for Take Stock. Take Stock is right outside the door. I've been a mentor for this program for I don't know how many years. And what happens is a student gets assigned a mentor, and they visit that student 30 minutes every week. And I'm committed to that. So when they ask that question, there's resources out there that would make it a little better for parents. You just have to reach out and search out to see what programs are out there. And this one here is free. Good grades, good attendance, stay drug-free. If you got a child that fits this mold, they get a scholarship at the end in the state of Florida. A win-win situation.
Thank you. Okay, our next question. How do I stay successful in school but still have time for my friends?
Again, prioritizing. prioritize your schedule, your assignments at school, doing your work, going to school, and then once you have done all of that, then in the afternoons you try to make time for your friends, or you visit your friends at school, but still making sure that you are prioritizing and you're getting your lessons.
Thank you. What if I need help with a class and can't go to tutoring because I have practice? Ms. Serrano?
I feel like there are a lot of resources out there. Schoology, messaging your teachers through Schoology. Some teachers use Remind. I know at the high school level, there's a tutoring paper. There's so many resources out there. And again, all it takes is just one question to your teacher. If your teacher can't help you, they will tell you or give you an idea of the help that is out there.
I think two things are very important. I'm working with a young man now, and he's a freshman at one of our local high schools. And this young man, he's a nice young man, but he stays on his phone at night till about 11:30 or 12 o'clock. And he doesn't spend a lot of time in his studies. He plays basketball for one of the local high schools. He is failing a math class. I spoke to him a year ago, and I said to him, if you're going to study math and do well in math, you have to put the time and you have to work at it. You have to work the equation, work through the equation, work through the problem, so when you get to the test, you will do well. Well, he failed the test. He had to stop playing basketball. They gave him another opportunity to take the test, but he failed the test again. The reason he failed the test, because he still did not change his habits. One thing about it, if you are going to pass and do well in your classes, you have to have good habits, good study habits. Spend time in your work. And I always tell people this, and I learned this because when I was in the 7th grade, I had academic problems. But I decided that I didn't want to be the class dunce any longer, but I wanted to be the top student in that class. And so I put the work in. So if you put the work in, then you will come out successful in every class that you have. And so now this young man, we're working with him now, trying to bring his grade back up, and I'm not sure if he's going to play again this year because basketball season is only 2.5 months. But you have to put the time in, put the work in, and you'll come out successful. Thank you.
Mr. Butler?
Just want to add to that, at least at the perspective from high school. I coached for many years prior to becoming an administrator, but I'm not sure of any coach in the world that wouldn't prioritize a student being able to go to tutoring before they went to practice. You know, that's a very important thing because the investment that 100% of coaches have is to the student athlete and making sure that they are successful in that regard. So I think it's an encouragement from parents to students and, you know, even from teachers to students to make sure that they advocate for themselves and communicate, you know, with their coaches regarding what's going on. Most high school coaches work at the school that they coach at, but there are rare occasions when the coach is like an off-campus coach, so they may not necessarily have immediate access to students' grades and, you know, how they're doing in class. So that takes a little bit more of, you know, structure and procedure to be able to monitor that. But, you know, most of those coaches will be able to see where students are and, you know, they can encourage them and assign them to do study hall. Some programs have study halls that they operate before they have practice start for the day. But at most schools, like my school, we offer tutoring 4 days a week. You know, there's multiple times when, if it's communicated properly, they can spend some time being able to go to tutoring before going to practice. You know, it goes back to that very first question in prioritizing and putting the first things first. So making sure that they advocate for themselves and communicate is very important. So, and not to allow the excuse that I have practice, and that's why I can't go to tutoring.
Thank you. Now, this next question, I want the answer for myself. What are ways to help you get more sleep for the day? I think Bishop McDonald said it a little bit when he said, put that cell phone down. That's one way. But what are some other ways that students can use to make sure that they get enough sleep so they're not sleepy when they're in class?
I think that it starts with the parent. The young man I was talking about, now for a year he's been struggling in math. Well, it doesn't take a year for you to identify that your child is struggling in whatever class it is. So you cannot reward your child when they're not doing well. We have parents that, you know, even if your child don't do well, you love them, but you can't reward them. Take that game away. Take that phone away. And let them know what's important, what's going to help them to be successful in life. And a lot of that is on the parent. Because if your child is up playing a game to 10, 11 o'clock at night, he is not going to be sharp enough when he gets to class in the morning. He's going to be sitting there dozing off when he should be listening to the teacher. And somebody used the term engage. So the best way to get sleep at night is go to bed between 9 and 9:30.
Mr. Butler.
So, call it weird. My wife and I, we have 5 kids, ranging the age of 14 and down to 6. Up until this year, where my oldest is with me at the high school, there was a rule in my house: you go to bed at 7 o'clock. That was every night, because we just valued the importance of them getting rest. You know, we never wanted to allow them saying, you know, I'm tired, to be an excuse for them to not be able to put their best foot forward in anything that they had to do throughout the day. And for my 4 students that are not under the age of 14, they still go to bed at 7. Now, my oldest, it's a little different now, you know, that dynamic with her being a high school student, not because she can't go to sleep, but she's entrenched in her studies. You know, she has a lot of work with the course load that she has chosen to participate in, and she can't get all of that done by 7 o'clock, you know, with everything else that she has going on. But there is still a balance in that, because, you know, then I have my clock, you know, of when I say, okay, honey, it's time to go ahead and put those things away. And I know that she's done everything that she can, and I say, it's okay. Put it on the shelf. It'll be there tomorrow. And if it's something that can't get done, then it doesn't get done. You know, I think it's important for parents to also teach their children the reality that not everything in life is going to be complete. You know, there are certain things that have to get done, but there are certain things that you can put that away, you know, and go back to it the next day and work on it. There's a time management aspect to what they need to do, so that way they can get enough sleep. But it's the priority for a kid that needs to be put on the parent to ensure that their student is getting enough sleep by, you know, making sure that they stay in a structure of what needs to happen.
Thank you. I think this is by far, the next question is my favorite one. What steps must I take to improve my image? Okay.
So I think, you know, it's not a cop-out answer, but for you to acknowledge that, that's the biggest thing right there. I mean, we have so many people that live this fake life on social media, and not just kids, but adults too. And if the very first thing is, if you can look in the mirror, or if you can have a 12-year-old write that question, I mean, that's powerful right there. For them to say, you know what, something's fake, something's not genuine. You know, that's a big word in my household is, you know, are you being genuine with that? You know, are you being real? You know, you keeping it 100 when we have these conversations as a family? Are these real conversations? Are you really happy? If you're not, let's have these conversations. And I think, right away, if you can have that open dialogue to where, whether it's self-reflection or whether it's family and everybody is talking and it's like, hey, this is real. This is a real topic. So I think especially in today's world, if you have those type of conversations, I think everything else we're talking about tonight just builds. But until that question pops open, nothing that we've talked about can happen.
Correct. Mr. Butler.
I think it's also important when it comes to, image, that the thing that I know that we were always taught that, the first impression is the most important impression. And, at least at the high school level, it's a constant battle to remind them of their actions. I often have conversations with students about, you never know who's going to be on campus today, and you never know when they walk through that door and they're out and what they're looking for. And you could be that individual, but how you act in that moment may make a difference in what that person perceives of you. And it's always important, I think, as adults in the room, to encourage our kids to take an active investment in themselves, and what they need to do and who they want to become. I have to always remind my children and my oldest of that. I know what people are going to tell you who they believe that you are, and your mother and I have an image and belief of who we say that you are, but you also have to internalize who you believe that you are. And you don't have to live up to the hype of others in order for you to be yourself. Just be genuine to the things that are strong in your own convictions, and whether that's faith, spirituality, family, what have you, just making sure that you are, connected to those convictions in yourself. That's how you really improve on your image. Be true to who you are, as an individual.
Ms. Sonia, you had something you wanted to add?
Yes, I was just saying, have confidence in yourself. Social media now has the young people just believing that, you see all of these smaller young ladies on social media, and our young girls think that, oh, I'm supposed to be that size now, or I'm supposed to be like the other girls that they see on social media. So just have confidence in yourself. And as Mr. Butler said, just make sure that your family, your parents are also telling you and giving you that guidance that you need.
Thank you. What can I do to improve my people skills in this environment? Okay, Ms. Irby.
For starters, actually communicating. Our kids are big on texting, and it's hard when they come in a classroom like mine where phones are not allowed. I actually have a phone prison box, and that's where they go if we see them. And it's really awkward the first week of school when the phones are put away and they have to look around and actually engage in conversation with one another. So your people skills are going to come in when you learn to communicate, when you're comfortable enough with yourself to go ahead and start those conversations, those face-to-face conversations. That's the key right there. That's one of them. They have to be comfortable conversing. They really do.
There is actually a book. My niece is one of these people that is just naturally shy. And there's a book that has sentence starters. So it's just something that helps you to gauge in conversations, gives you little tools that you can use when you're walking into a room, just to how to start a conversation. So that is all of the DeSoto questions. I've taken them, and a lot of them were very similar in nature, so I put them all together. So, Mr. Edwards, are we going on with our questions, or? Okay. Are there any additional questions from anyone in the audience? Okay, come on. To the microphone right there.
Hello. My question is, school have changed since I've been in school. So when my kids come home, like, Mom, I need help with math, or I need help with this, I find it sometimes difficult to help them because the way they do math or homework now is not how we were taught. Are there like after-school tutoring sessions or lunch sessions where the kids can go and get that help? Because there's only so much, we can do at home if we do not understand how things have changed.
Yes. Personally, so as I said, I teach math. I'm always available. I'm offered tutoring before school. During lunch, students can come into my classroom after school. I am not available to stay after school, but my students know they send me a message on Reminder Schoology. I will respond within 30 minutes. So my students send me a picture of the problem, and I will text it back. I will write it down. Not that I should do this. If I'm driving, I'll take the envelope next to me, I'll write it down, take a picture of that and send it. And I've had parents do the same. I just started tutoring a student in 2nd grade. That math is different. That math is different for me too. So I have to look over it too. And so when I'm there, I'm teaching mom and dad and the student so later that they can help the student. For parents to be able to help your students, you just gotta Google it. It's okay that you don't know what it is because that math is different. It is. It's not what you're used to, but if you Google it, get that quick explanation, then you can, explain it. Or just ask the teacher. If you know your student struggles, ask the teacher what's the next lesson so you can prep yourself, and that way you can help your student once they get home.
Mr. Butler.
So again, just to echo with what Ms. Arano said, it's important for us to communicate with the teachers as far as what that need is. Most teachers are available, for a short period of time, after school to do things if they don't have meetings to go to. Like I said, at least my school, we have tutoring provided 4 days a week on campus directly after school. But the district has a partnership with Avenue 941, and I know that they have resources, they have facilities throughout the county where they are available in unconventional hours of the day that allows students to be able to go into their facilities and get assistance with tutoring from a teacher that's within Manatee County who's also assigned or stationed there at that school. Currently, the district has a partnership with a vendor called Paper, and that app, any student, I believe every student in Manatee County has access to it. Once they log into the student information system, there's a little icon that says Paper. So based on what their courses or classes are, they can click on that course. It will connect them to a teacher, a live teacher who is an expert within that core subject, and that student through messaging can begin to work with that teacher regarding whatever they're struggling with, and as a parent you can be online with them to help navigate that, to work through that. But there's also the resource like Khan Academy, the KHAN. You can go on Khan Academy, and they've expanded, the reach of the different core subjects that they provide, and it's a lot of video tutorials from teachers who will help break down particular aspects and subjects and content that kids may be struggling with. So there are a variety of resources out there for you.
I know that at one point, every student in Manatee County is eligible for a library card. And through the library website, there is a drop-down menu for tutoring, and they provide live tutoring as well, 24 hours a day. So your students just have to sign up for a library card, and then they get the information to log into the computer, and then that service is available as well.
And I just want to add for middle school, because I can't speak for high schools and elementary, if we offer tutoring that is after school or before school and you can't get your child to that, you can ask the teacher and they can just jump on Teams or online or on Schoology, and then you can get that live interaction as well.
And we also have 21st Century before and after school at Lee Middle as well for tutoring.
They have that at a lot of the Title I elementary schools as well, the before and after school tutoring programs through 21st Century. Any more questions from the audience? Anything else that our panel would like to share? Any closing comments from anyone on the panel? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Bishop McDonald, or you, Omar? Bishop McDonald.
I just want to say that I really, really appreciate these beautiful young people for your patience for this length of time. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you so much. I know spending this amount of time listening is sometimes difficult, and we also want to appreciate the parents for you coming out tonight as well. And we certainly appreciate our panel tonight and also Mr. Edwards. Let's give everybody a big round of applause. And of course, our MC tonight, thank you so much. Let us bow our heads in just a word of prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, as we enter into your presence once again, we thank you for this opportunity that we've had to share with these parents and with these beautiful young people. We know that you have a purpose for each of their lives. We pray that their parents will continue to work with them, and we as leaders in our community and teachers within our schools will help them become all that you created them to be. So, Father, as we leave this place tonight, but never your presence, we ask that you go with us, protect us, and keep us. In Christ's name we pray. Amen and amen. Thank you.